Melissa, and picking one favorite memory with Grandpa was an impossible task. He was a man who loved others so well, which meant that every time we were together, we made another cherished memory. Grandpa had a way of making us feel so special. He was genuinely interested in what was going on in our lives and showed up for all that he could. Growing up, I remember the big things like the twins games and going on family vacations in the RV. But I also have really fond memories of the little things, like seeing him at all my piano recitals, listening to him tell his stories about his childhood, and going on the rounds with him at the condominiums. Who knew that checking on the boiler and the pool would make for such great memories? But they really did. We didn't have to do anything extravagant because Grandpa had a way of making any activity feel like a special occasion. I will cherish those memories, both big and small, forever. But even more than the memories that we made together as I was growing up, I will cherish the memories that he made with my 3 boys. We moved to Wilmer 6 years ago, and what a blessing it has been to watch Grandpa love my boys and make them feel just as special as he made me feel growing up. Grandpa was always up for anything that the boys suggested. He would play catch with Wyatt in the backyard whenever he and Grandma stopped by, and he even learned how to race in Mario Kart. He always got down on the floor with Lucas to play with his cars, and he followed him up the stairs to check out Lucas's newest Lego creation. And he cuddled and entertained Gideon when Big Brother's activities were getting a little long, and he celebrated with him when he learned to sit up, clap, and crawl. We will miss him at summer baseball games and every Friday at Frida's, but I'm extremely grateful for the time that we have had together. I only hope to love others like he did and make those around me feel as special as Grandpa always made me feel.
Hello there, Jenna here, grandkid number 3, I think. Where to start? Grandpa was one of those grandpas that was just always there. He showed up no matter what, and he was there for every single moment. I didn't play many sports, so there weren't many games to show up for, but he bragged on my art to anyone who would listen, even to the nurses in the hospital. He showed up to move me into college, to both graduations, my wedding, and that was for every single grandkid. Not many people have grandparents that could be there to move every single kid into college. Every holiday, of course. I'll never forget gathering all of the cousins, grandparents, aunts, and uncles in one house over Thanksgivings and Christmases, even meeting halfway between Minnesota and Colorado in a hotel to celebrate together. I may have been quite sick on one of those, but it was still fun nonetheless. There were also like road trips and adventures that we went on together in our caravan of campers. The one that I always remember and brag about to everyone is our trip to Cedar Point, which was an amusement park with over 15, I think it was 15 of the largest and fastest roller coasters, and Grandpa was determined to ride every single one. And he did. Even the dragster, that one was the fastest, went straight up in the air and came right back down. It was so fast, your hair would literally be stuck backwards when you stopped, like in a cartoon. Another memory I can think of, less adventurous, but we went up to the top of one of the buildings he was managing, and because it's fun to be on top of a building, and a storm was rolling in, and suddenly all of our hair was standing straight up in the air, and as calmly as you can imagine, Grandpa just got us all inside, and it was something I will never forget. Once we moved to Colorado, we started seeing him less. Him and Grandma always made the trip out, though, for important events still, driving all the way to Colorado. We drive to the top of Pikes Peak. Grandma wasn't a huge fan of that one, but we made it. They were there to distract me with mini golfing, more amusement parks and construction while I was very pregnant with Miss Etta, my first. They were there for her when she was born. As it got harder for them to make the trip to us, the highlight of our summer became our trip to Minnesota to see the family. Grandpa, basically the manager of the lake house, was there jumping into projects, watching us swim from the shade of the tree on the porch that he helped build. I'll never forget the "hello, my girl" every time we showed up to the lake. And that turned into "hello, my girls," because he made my girls feel just as special as he made me feel. He was one of the best, and he is already so missed. I love you, Grandpa.
Hi, I'm grandson number 1, Justin. Thinking back over all the years of memories with Grandpa, it was really hard to pick out one, and while reflecting on all of the things that we did together over the years, the theme of curiosity really came up, and just a natural curiosity to wonder how things in the world worked. And I think I'm the most thankful to Grandpa for that aspect of my life. I think he really taught me just to look at the world with eyes of wonder and curiosity, and just to want to know how things work, and to have just that be your lens every single day. All the years that we spent at Lake Point going around fixing things, I got to grab Grandpa's toolkit. He bought me my first toolkit. I still have the little hammer that was in that toolkit. Got to go to the pool and work out what was wrong with the chemicals and how to fix it. We got to walk through the park and ask questions about trees, and feed the geese and ask why they were there and where they were going. And Grandpa never seemed irritated by questions. He loved questions. He loved having answers. He may not have always known the answers, and he probably made up a lot of the answers too. But I have such fond memories of everything we did with him. Was just learning new things, and it being a stress-free environment of just trying to figure out how the world works. And I think I got that from Grandpa Jerry, and I will carry that throughout my whole life. I still love fixing stuff. I love learning how things work. I love just admiring nature and seeing how the world around us functions. And I absolutely got that from him. And it's not always the flashy things in life either. It's just enjoying the time that you have with the people that you're with, and going to Twins games and sitting in probably the cheapest seats there, but having binoculars and reading the program and getting to record outs and hits and at-bats, and seeing which players were on the bobblehead that week, and getting a aluminum wrapped dome dog. I have so many great memories with Grandpa and Grandma, just exploring the world and learning new things. And so that's my greatest memory, is just learning how to see the world through Grandpa's eyes and taking that with me. Love you, Grandpa.
So when us grandkids were asked to take a video of one of our favorite memories for Grandpa's funeral, I thought, how am I going to just pick one? But then I heard the other grandkids broke the rule and talked about more than one, so I will too. So a couple of things that stand out from just my childhood with Grandpa. One was just time in the RV. I remember a lot of memories of sitting in the front seat with him. He'd have his atlas out, he'd have it highlighted where we were going, and so he taught me how to kind of follow along with that. And he taught me how to read the mile markers on the side of the road, check my speedometer was accurate. I'm not sure I've used that to this day, but a really kind of a fun thing that he taught me that I still remember. And I think that's where some of my love of atlases and travel and maps and kind of knowing where I fit in the world came from, was that quality time just with Grandpa in the front seat of the camper on those long trips. The second would be Twins games. So we were so blessed to live really close to Grandma and Grandpa through so much of our young childhood. He's just part of so many different memories as I think through being a young kid. But those Twins games, we would get the cheap seats up at the top of the Metrodome, and he'd always bring us binoculars because it was so hard to see all the way down to where the field was, and he showed me how to use those and talk through what was going on in the game. And we always left early, too much traffic to try to get home, and it was late. So we'd hop into the Subaru and I'd be in the back seat, and I remember falling asleep many times to the radio with the Twins game finishing up on the radio, and Grandma and Grandpa kind of talking about the game. So when I kind of think back on my memories of Grandpa, so much of it, he was just present, and I think that's what I appreciated most about him, is he was just there. He incorporated us grandkids into just so much of his day-to-day life, like whether it was taking us around in the apartment buildings to like take out trash. We were just part of his everyday life, and we weren't a nuisance. He loved having us around, and we were just part of that. So I think that's what I most appreciated about Grandpa, was just how present he was. And just, he was just there, and so many memories just with him and just being part of life. So we love you so much, Grandpa. We miss you.
So I spent the last couple nights thinking about all these memories with Grandpa, and there are definitely a couple that stood out to me. The first is a military story. Probably 4 years ago, I was just getting back from training in Fort Hunter Liggett, California. I was telling you the story to Grandpa, and he goes, "Hold on a second. I trained there too when it was called Fort Ord." Grandpa and I spent probably an hour talking about our experiences, and it was just so cool to bond with him in that way and hear how proud he was to be able to serve his country. The next one was a trip I made during college by myself, I think 2016. We had a long holiday weekend, and I decided to go visit Grandpa and Grandma in Wilmer. And let me tell you, we had a very busy weekend, filled with taking leisurely strolls through Sibley Park to say hi to the deer. Took a few laps at the mall to get our steps in, and random spurts of Grandpa telling me about the Jennie-O turkey factory nearby, and obviously meeting all of Grandma's friends at the diner. But there were two moments from that trip I definitely won't forget. One, I think it was just us three. We went to get breakfast, and Grandpa just really wanted oatmeal. And the waitress, for some reason, hated oatmeal. Basically told him that he can't order it, and jokingly but firm, which was funny. Graham and I were dying. We were laughing at those two, basically having an oatmeal argument. And guess what? Grandpa got his oatmeal. The second moment on that same trip, I think it was just us three again in the car. And we drove to Burger King, ordered $1 ice cream cones, and just sat in the car and watched the trains go by. It was so peaceful and just so fun to hang out with Grandpa during those simple yet very beautiful moments.
I wanted to start my memories of Grandpa with this hat that I'm wearing today. It's a small reminder of the adventures that we shared, one of the greatest being our trip to Cedar Point. One day, I came home from school to a question from my mom. "Do you want to get out for summer break a week early to go with Grandpa, Grandma, Perry, Janine, Jen, and Alyssa to Cedar Point?" Yeah, I'm a kid. I do. We hit the road in Grandpa's famous Rialta camper, taking the longest and most scenic route in true Meyer fashion. When we finally arrived, my jaw dropped. The roller coasters were massive, taller than anything I'd ever seen at Little Dinky Valley Fair in Minnesota. That day, I had told Grandpa I wanted to ride every single roller coaster. And without hesitation, he smiled and said, "Me too. Why not?" And we almost did, but one ride remained. The tallest and fastest one in the whole park. A 420-foot climb, hitting 120 miles an hour in just 4 seconds. The kind of ride that could make a teenager's heart stop, let alone a grandpa. But he had made a promise, and there was no turning back now. I think in that moment, he would have done anything I asked. Right there, risking our health for the thrill of the ride. That trip with the Meyers is a memory that truly I will never forget. Beyond the thrills, Grandpa was one of my greatest teachers. He showed me the ins and the outs of pool and hot tub maintenance, tackled the mysteries of the boiler room, which I had a very irrational fear of, fixed more broken vacuums than I can even count, and even taught me how to retrieve a fallen nook from an elevator shaft. Can't imagine how that got there. With a big smile and endless patience, he turned everyday moments into lifelong lessons that I still remember to this day. I'll always be grateful for all the time that I had with Grandpa, Grandma, and the whole Meyer clan. I'm just sure that God has a lake stocked full of sunnies just for you, Grandpa. Love you.